Yo, how's it going, guys? Welcome back to another video. My name's Rowan, you're watching Blobinati Central. Today, we'll be talking about the top 5 best one-handed speed-solving methods. So the methods in this video are going to be ranked on how theoretically good they are, not how good they are right now. So the reason why I'm doing this is to compensate for different types of bias, such as the fact that CFOP has been around way longer than any of the other useful speed-solving methods today. So if we think in the long term and get every method to be as developed as CFOP, then this would be my top 5 best one-handed speed-solving methods. So coming in at spot number 5 is going to be the CFOP method. So CFOP has proven itself to be a pretty fast speed-solving method. A lot of the one-handed world records have been with the CFOP method. The OLL and PLL for one-handed is really well developed and nice finger tricks have been found for it. So CFOP does require a bunch of rotations, which is kind of the downside, especially for one-handed when you have to do stuff like this all the time. But that being said, there are tons of good tutorials for one-handed CFOP and a lot of good algorithms, good documents. So in spot number 4, we have the LEOR method, or LEOR method. So this method is actually getting more and more better for one-handed. I've seen a lot more YouTube videos of people solving with LEOR recently, and it's really cool. So if you don't know, the first step of the LEOR method is to solve a 1x2x3 block like this. So this is basically the same exact step as RU. And then the second step is to orient the edges while solving these two pieces, so kind of completing a Tetris 2x2x3 block, but while orienting edges at the same time. So once you have that block done, you can build the rest of the F12 2gen, and then you're just left with ZBLL, but I got my corners oriented, so that was lucky. So you're just left with ZBLL if you want to one-look the last layer, or you can do OCLL and then PLL, or you can do like COLL and EPLL if you want. So that's LEOR, and I think it's gotten more popular due to the fact that there's less blind spots and there's also no rotations. And block building has been proven to be super good for one-handed, so. Also the fact that it starts with RU and it ends kind of with CFOP/ZZ last layer, so people who are thinking about learning RU might want to learn LEOR first as like a transition method. But for one-handed it's super great because the 2gen F2L at the end is awesome. EO ergonomics is great, it's wide R UGen, so the whole solve is like pretty good ergonomics. So number 3 is ZZ Orbit. So I had to do a bunch of research as to which ZZ variant I thought was the best for one-handed, and I think this variant called ZZ Orbit is. So in ZZ Orbit, you first orient the edges and make EO line like in the ZZ method. So once you have the left block, all you have to do is solve the back pair of the F12s, yes, specifically the back pair, don't do the front pair, and then now do the front pair, but you put the front pair back here instead of inserting it into the slot, and then you recognize the corner permutation, and there's only 6 algorithms here, only 6, and what it does is so let's say that I just did the algorithm, so the pairs back here, I recognize the corner permutation case. Now when we insert the corner, we get a 2gen last layer. So this is, instead of the like 500 ZBLLs, it reduces it to 84 2GLL algorithms, which is a way to finish the last layer with only R and U moves, which is like the best ergonomics. And the only downside of that is that you have to pause before inserting your last F2L pair to recognize the CP case. So it's a little bit slower, but I think it's the best ZZ variant for one-handed. And I learned the recognition technique and it's actually pretty simple. So ZZ Orbit is definitely a thing to check out. Okay, so number 2 is Briggs or Wairuru method. So it's really weird. On the speed-solving wiki, they say that they're both variants of each other, but Briggs was invented way first, but everyone talks about Wairuru and no one talks about Briggs. I don't know why, so I'm just gonna put both of them. They're basically the same thing. So the first step, in case you don't know the Wairuru method, is in inspection, you plan the corner permutation, so that means that'll reduce the entire solve down to RU. You'll never have to do any F moves again. So it's called CP line, because you solve this line down here in the bottom left and permute the corners at the same time. And now the entire rest of the solve, now that this line down here is done, can be done with wide R, wide U, UR, and then M and E. So basically all wide R and wide U moves the entire rest of the solve. It's amazing. Then you expand that into a block and then basically do the same exact steps as LEOR. So you do the edge orientation. Make sure to do edge orientation without F or B moves though, because that'll ruin, well, the first block, and that'll also ruin corner permutation. But after inserting the 2x2x3, you can finish the entire rest of the solve with 2gen, instead of having like 2gen F12 and then ZBLL. The entire solve is just going to be 2gen. So it's very nice. The recognition from inspection isn't too hard, but it definitely takes a while to get used to. And I think it probably took me like 2 weeks to be able to do that in less than 15 seconds. Okay, so now we're at number 1, and this might be a controversial opinion or like really biased because of just like who I am, but I honestly think that Roux is the best method for one-handed, and here's why. Now you might be thinking, how do you do M moves one-handed? Like, what? How are you supposed to do M moves with only one hand? Well, the answer to that is table abuse. So all the fastest one-handed Rouxers use a lot of heavy table abuse, which is balancing the cube onto the table and like forcing it to do M moves like this. And using that technique, they can literally get the almost the exact same speeds as with two hands. So a normal two-handed Roux, like one hand is the U hand specifically for U moves, and the other hand is the M move hand specifically for M moves. But for one-handed, using the table, you can use these two fingers for M moves and then these two fingers for U moves. And it works really well and almost the same as two-handed. Roux is also completely rotationless, just like the top 4 other methods on our list here. And it has the lowest move count, I think, of any of the methods on our list here, so that's pretty good, along with the intuitive nature, plus it's one-handed, so intuitive is like about the same speed as algorithmic, just due to the hands being able to turn slower because there's only one hand instead of two hands. So that was the top 5 one-handed speed solving methods. Do you agree with my list? You probably don't. Let me know in the comments if you agree with my list. A like would be really appreciated. I spent a lot of time on these awesome cubing videos. I'm almost at 1,900 subscribers, so subscribe please down below. Yes, thanks.